Greetings and salutations. This is the voice of Loquacious of Herd, bringing you his afterthoughts on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 6, Episode 5, titled Gauntlet of Fire. I heartily suggest you find and watch the episode itself, sans commentary, before proceeding with either this afterthoughts review or viewing my full reaction, which is hosted at the link in the description. Be warned, this afterthoughts review will contain spoilers from the episode itself. With that out of the way, a note before we move on to the review itself. This Spoken Herd review for the episode will be the first of my longer Spoken Herd segments. Going forward, these Spoken Herd Afterthoughts reviews will take the place of my earlier Written Herd segments. Spike is a wonderful supporting character, but when he has played a central role in an episode, well, it's been hit or miss, with some pretty big misses. I am pleased to find this episode was one of his definite hits. The opening scene, with Spike assisting Rarity in her gym hunting, felt like a callback to a dog and pony show, one of the earliest episodes in which Spike really shines, in a humorous fashion, as one of the characters who is leading and driving the story. And speaking of shining, wherefrom cometh this sudden glow? One bat swarm wipe later, we transition to Twilight's palace, where Twilight is receiving Celestia and Luna. I loved seeing the Royal Pony Sisters commenting on how they so rarely get a chance to relax and visit, how there's always some pony somewhere in need of their assistance. It's moments like this that make the world of Equestria feel much larger, deeper, and more real to me. Sure, we regularly follow the adventures of Twilight Sparkle, Rarity, Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and Applejack, but as comments like Celestia's suggest, these are not the only ponies in Equestria having adventures, dealing with problems, and facing threats. I've always felt that a large part of Celestia's hooves-off role when it comes to interacting with her favorite pupil was based on a combination of trust that Twilight and her friends could handle whatever their local difficulty of the day might be, coupled with the emergence of other problems elsewhere in the realm for which there wasn't a readily available local heroine to take up the mantle of Pony Protector. Perhaps, I've thought, while we're wondering why Celestia isn't intervening to solve some friendship or Monster of the Week trouble in Ponyville, the real reason is that she's busy dealing with Canterlot being besieged by giant mutated cockatrices. You know, because what's a Tuesday in Equestria without terrible, terrible danger? Kudos to the writers for alluding to the fact that Equestria is a big place, with lots going on, and much of the time, whatever the main six are dealing with is being handled without a pressing need for Celestia or Luna's intervention, leaving those two free to intervene elsewhere where their presence, powers, and wisdom are more sorely needed. Likewise, the show has on occasion gone to the Royal Sisters to give the impression that some mystical bit of mystery, a key to an episode, is so super extra especially mysterious that even they don't know about it. By now, that had become enough of an old standby that it had begun to feel almost like the Royal Pony Sisters really didn't have that much in the way of experience or useful insights to provide. Thus, by immediately following up on the previous wonderful bit of writing for Celly and Luna, this time we are presented with a rare mystic phenomenon which they have seen before, and thus they are both able and willing to provide advice and guidance. And now, Spike must go on Dragon Quest Part 2. No Rainbow Dash this time, but once again our favorite dragon is accompanied by Rarity and Twilight. The former because she's his dear friend, the latter because it's a chance to learn about the oh-so-mysterious dragons and their culture. Twilight's there to help Spike too. Alas, they shan't be using the costume of Crackle's cousin for this trip. The journey is fraught with... correction, we just get to the Dragonlands without so much as a travel montage. We are treated to the return of Garble, who must have started going through dragon puberty because his voice dropped at least an octave since last we heard his obnoxiousness. Garble's casual cruelties and general meanness serve as a great foil to Spike. Their interactions are always quite amusing. Spike, ever the heroic and helpful dragon, can be quite sassy when faced with the sort of unrepentant creep and villain that we have in Garble. Again, wonderful characterization for both the episode's pro and antagonist. Also, we meet many cool new dragon designs, ranging from Dragon Lord Torch, who looks like a fine example of size colossal in D&D, to his so much smaller daughter, Princess Ember. And now into the action. Dragon Law has set a limit on how long a Dragon Lord can rule. That time is up, so the moment has come for a new Dragon Lord to be chosen. Torch is, quite literally, passing the torch, in the form of the Bloodstone Scepter to whomever will be the next ruler of dragonkind. I find it interesting that we are really only seeing dragons who are effectively tween or teenaged who are summoned to compete in the Gauntlet of Fire. While the show isn't explicit about the reasons why, I imagine it must be custom. Each generation of dragonkind produces a new dragon lord who reigns for, well, centuries by the sound of it, before handing down that power to the next, younger generation. In short, older dragons are forbidden from competing. Their chance at rulership was back in the days of Torch's youth, and he was the brightest and best of them. Or at least the biggest and meanest of them. With the call answered and the gauntlet before him, Spike does the eminently reasonable thing and says, in effect, "Peace out." This was so much in his character, and such a true-to-life moment, that I was laughing to myself, thinking that they could roll credits and it would feel quite appropriate. Spike's not a glory hound. He doesn't seek power. Now, Torch displays his more noble side. Once, Spike and Ember have pointed out that the oh-so-small Spike is neither interested in nor really all that able to compete, and Torch lets Spike off the hook. He's free to go. Roll credits now. As it turns out, Torch is also an overprotective dad, and with a little streak of the old patriarchy running through him. Make that a mile-wide streak. Ember, though, isn't the sort to quietly accept being told she can't compete in the Gauntlet because she's a little girl. Spike, meanwhile, is on his way out. At this point, he really has no reason to stay. Magical summoning compulsion is done, and he's entirely uninterested in seizing a position of power among dragonkind, or being beaten up in the process of trying. But on the way out, he overhears the chatter of the contestants, and what this new generation of dragons has in mind, should power become theirs, ranges from the unpleasant to the downright murderous. If these other dragons are the winner of the Gauntlet, ponykind will suffer. Sure, there is strength in ponykind, and I'm also sure Celestia Luna wouldn't take kindly to a new dragon lord raising armies of dragons to invade and sack Equestria, whether for pillows or vengeance. But even successfully beating draconic raids back would be damaging, and it would take a toll on ponies and their lands. It would lead to war and devastation, whether of Equestria or the Dragonlands is kind of a moot point. Regardless of the outcome, this is a bad future we're looking at here. And Spike is in a unique position to step up and against all odds try to stop it. It's nice to see Spike cast in a heroic role, actively defending the ponies he cares for even when it means risking himself and his future happiness. He tends to do well with this sort of heroic role. So Spike joins the Gauntlet, and right away we see Garble being his usual obnoxious garble of a self. I'd use the term ass, but all the donkeys we've met have been rather nice, even cranky. Calling Garble an ass would be an insult to donkey kind. Spike immediately goes full-on noble hero as he starts the trial by saving the life of an unconscious and soon-to-be drowning competitor, all while being cheered on by Twilight and Rarity, who remain in disguise. Surprise, surprise, the saved competitor happens to be Ember. Kudos on the animators for her initial disguise, full body armor, and painting her blue scales green. Extra kudos to them for showing the trail of green paint washing off as Spike is dragging her unconscious body through the water to the island where she, once again back to being blue, comes to consciousness in a puddle of green dye. Ember is by far the most intelligent, personable, and noble of the dragons we've met in the Dragonlands. She's driven to prove herself as something other than a showpiece princess. She may not be as strong or as tough as some of her competitors, but she's got more than enough drive and determination, and smarts, to go for the gold. Or the bloodstone, as the case may be. She has a degree of honor, and is thankful, though confused, that Spike would save her. And while nonplussed to discover the nature of Spike's cheerleading section, she doesn't seem to have any overt antagonistic tendencies towards ponykind in general. Her attitude of, whatever, I don't care, is worlds better than any of the other dragons' thoughts on their equestrian neighbors. Spike's hero knickers are definitely on tightly, as he's also willing to try to help free a trapped Garble, who, as the deliciously unrepentant villain, only mocks the kindness he has been shown. Worse, Garble almost uncovers the hidden Rarity in Twilight. And here we have a key moment. It's not just that Ember doesn't care one way or the other for the ponies, but when faced with a situation where ponies need protection from a pretty awful dragon, she steps right up to help shield them, even when there is no benefit to her doing so. She does it because it's the right thing to do, and for all her tough girl I don't care attitude, she's fundamentally a dragon who tries to do the right thing. Spike, who is used to friendship, proposes an alliance. Ember, who's entirely unused to friendship, is hesitant, but she's also smart enough to see the very real advantages. So she and Spike take to the skies, and the caves, and the dragon-gnashing stalagmites and tights whose operation I shan't bother to question, even if the cavern is chewing on Crackle herself. Along the way they're a good team, and Garble follows in their wake, where Karma deservedly smacks his fool self around. After surviving a number of trials, the way the episode lampshades the whole "how are Twilight and Rarity keeping up with Spike and Ember anyway" issue is another lovely bit of humor interjected into the story, and Ember immediately follows it up with a tsundere moment. It's not like she's finding herself actually liking Spike, the baka. Spike sets off alone, and behold, he discovers the resting place of the scepter. Unfortunately, Garble is right on his tail, and Garble is bigger, stronger, and a better fighter. Spike is tossed to his stalagmighty doom, only to be rescued mid-fall by the return of Ember, who has decided that she really wants to give this whole friendship thing a try after all, even if it is terribly confusing and she doesn't want to talk about her feelings. Garble discovers the ponies, and prepares to do very bad things to them. Okay, so if he actually laid a claw on Twilight, I suspect even a young Alicorn could beat the stuffing out of a teenage dragon. Twilight and Rarity are supposedly only here as observers. They're not supposed to interfere, and fighting back is hardly the first thought that would cross their minds. And if they did, there's the whole possibility of an interspecies and international incident involved. Once again, ponies in danger, and Ember leaps to their defense, fighting Garble in an effort to buy Spike time to reach the scepter, even though it may mean a quite damaging defeat for her as Garble gets the upper claw. Faced with going for the grand prize or returning to personally help his new friend, Spike goes with a more visceral gut reaction of, "I must try to save her." He's a clever boy, but critical thinking in this sort of situation may not be his strongest suit. Sure, he could have ended the fight by grabbing the scepter and commanding them to stop, but that's a level of higher thinking that is hard for most folks to muster in the midst of a pulse-pounding, adrenaline-fueled battle. So he goes back, saves Ember, yet again, and nearly pulls a Gandalf for his troubles. But Ember summons up her strength and the power of friendship to finally throw down her rival. And then, once again showcasing her essentially noble nature, she helps save Spike and sends him to retrieve the scepter. He does. All hail Dragon Lord Spike. His one effective decree is the perfect bit of amusing karmic justice for the villain of the piece. I love it. And I love how Spike then turns the scepter over to the only other dragon we know of who has proven herself to be a true friend to both Spike and pony kind. And while Torch may be an invested member of the patriarchy, he's also a father, proud of his rebellious daughter's accomplishments. And he's a big enough dragon, pun intended, to admit that he may have been wrong about her suitability to rule. New friendships, new alliances, and Spike got a chance to shine, both literally and figuratively, a chance he grabbed onto with both claws and ran with. Kudos to him, and kudos to the show for giving us this fun episode. If you wish to see my full reaction to My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 6, Episode 5, titled Gauntlet of Fire, the link, as I mentioned earlier, is in the description. Feel free to leave any comments or likes for that reaction here on this Afterthought review. And until next time, as always, kindly remember, y'all are awesome. Stay awesome.